So I'm a first year PhD student, and here's a few things that they don't really tell you before you do a PhD. Number one, no hour is the same. You could spend 8 hours on one task, right? And you can make no progress, but then the same task, you can spend 1 hour on it and complete it. And that's kind of mind-boggling because before PhD, you're kind of used to the whole, if you spend more time on something, you're going to make more progress in it. But the PhD kind of spins that on its head. You do a lot of tasks where you realize it's not about the time you put into it, but the quality of the time you put into it. So you can't really measure your productivity by the number of hours you work or how much you commit to a task, because sometimes a task might take 10 hours and you get through it, and then it might also take 2 hours and you get through it too. So no hour is the same at all. Number two, the imposter syndrome is indeed real. You'll be around a lot of smart people and you will think you do not know a thing. Like the way I did not know anything in my first one of my PhD, and even now I'm still a bit like, what am I doing? Like you will feel like you don't know anything, but that's completely normal. The idea is that you will learn as you do the PhD. So if you do feel that imposter syndrome, completely normal. Everyone goes through it. Over time, you'll get better ways to deal with it, but yeah, that does come and hit you like a ton of bricks for sure. Number three, the research that you start with in your PhD is probably not the research you will end with, which this kind of means that like when you start a PhD, you don't know enough about your domain to know which research is good or not good to do. Your supervisor will guide you, but sometimes you might work on something that might not be what ends up being in your thesis. And it's because over time you will learn more about your domain and you'll know what research projects are worth doing and what aren't worth doing. So it's okay if your first year is literally spent like trying to figure out what your domain is and maybe getting a project done in that year. A lot of people in their first year don't tend to get a project done. So to even have something done is great. But the idea is that over time you'll learn your domain and you'll know what research is good to do. Number four, networking is so important in research. A lot of papers, right, they've got collaborators, you're working with a lot of different people with different research domains. Do not go into research if you want to just do it in isolation, because you will not get anywhere. Like, you actually have to work with people, and you have to work with a different range of people if you want your research to make sense, right? And when you've got multiple heads on one idea, you'll have a lot of diverse ways to approach that idea and to solve it. So networking is so crucial. Going to conferences, poster sessions, and just presenting your research to people, very, very important. Networking is like top tier thing to do if you're doing a PhD. And number five is very self-driven. Like, you need to be able to know what needs to be done each day to make progress. And sometimes that progress might not look the same each week as well. You're not going to have deadlines like you do in undergrad where you've got like your coursework due in December or an exam in July. In the PhD, you have to kind of decide when your deadlines will be and you have to work towards them. It doesn't mean set extreme deadlines that you can't meet, but you need to have a way to work towards your PhD that you're making progress without compromising on your work-life balance. And that's something that took me a while to get used to, because I used to feel insecure about the way I did my PhD and how like I work remote and things like that. But at the end of the day, if you're making progress, it doesn't really matter how you work on the PhD as long as you allocate the time properly and approach it with a clear mind. Those things for me are things that like a lot of people didn't really mention before doing the PhD. The imposter syndrome is quite common actually, but the idea of networking and like managing your time and being self-driven, these are things that people don't really say about PhDs. So as I'm doing one now, I just feel like it's important to share like the things that you might think a PhD is and what the reality is now that I'm in one. I'll probably do a video on like the things I've learned during my PhD and like why I'm really glad I did one, because yeah, there's just not enough PhD content out there. I really want to like shed light on the PhD process because I don't think a lot of people explain how a PhD works. So stay tuned.